is a risky bond. But it's a similar idea, you just move things up because you expect to receive a certain amount at maturity, right? You have no guarantee you receive the full amount. So if you look at the payoff to convertible bond, basically it is just move up. Now, if this is always like this, then that will be guaranteed. But we know that, well, normally the value should be low, right? Because when a company is bankrupt, it should go all the way to zero, all right? So you do not expect really a flat line. I would say, remember we drew those diagrams. That is, for risky bond, you probably will have something like this. It's not necessary now. In perfect case, it will be like this, right? But before that, you probably will have something that means, yeah, it should be something look like this. That means it's still possible you get nothing when a company is, let's say, bankrupt. All right? Okay? So it's not a flat line, but here, let's assume that, well, this is like a flat line, right? Okay? So that means your convertible bond should have a payoff similar to that. It's like a warrant plus a straight bond. All right. Now, before we look at now, pricing is difficult because now you can see there's so many factors affecting the value of this convertible bond. First thing is dividend, interest rate, the yield, right, and also stock prices. All right. So there are many things happening at the same time. So we want to look at an article that was published a few years ago about Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, his company, saved several companies during the financial crisis in 2008. All right. Now, in this transaction, if you look at the first one, they talk about is Goldman Sachs. All right. Now, Goldman Sachs needs capital. Right, and now it is 2008 September, and the investment here is $5 billion preferred share, right, paying 10% yield. So that means very similar to a bond, but this is just a preferred share, right? That means they have lower priority than bond, but higher priority than common shares, right? And the yield was 10%. Now, Berkshire also got warrants allowing to buy $5 billion of Goldman Sachs. So that means if you want, you can give up the $5 billion preferred share, and then they give you stock instead. And the strike price was $115 per share. So in this case, the strike price is $115. All right. Now, when they issue this preferred share in September 2008, that is right at the financial crisis, 2008. Now, at that time, all right, the share price was low, right? Definitely very low, right? Because of financial crisis. Now, however, in 2011, I mean, it's about 2.5 years later, so that's somewhere around March 2011, just well, less than 3 years later. Now, the price of Goldman Sachs at that time was about 160, right? After two and something years, market gains confidence again, right? And now the stock price was 160. So now you can see this volume is in the money because strike price is 115 and stock price 160. So the intrinsic value of this conversion option now is about $45. Right? So, right? So now in 2021, Warren Buffett actually got back the $5 billion we paid plus extra 500 million premium. So this is callable. So actually Goldman Sachs called it the preferred share by paying one coupon. Right? So price the part value plus 1 year coupon. Right? Because 10%. So 1 year coupon will be 500 million. So if you look at the return to Goldman Sachs, let's ignore the time value, right? The initial investment is 5 billion. 2.5 years later, Goldman Sachs, actually Warren Buffett, okay, Holloway received 5 billion plus 0.5 billion of call premium. And in 2009, 2010, those 2 years, they also received the preferred dividends of $0.5 billion per year. All right? Now, since the warrants, they are in the money, so how this one here, they settled the warrant with Goldman last year, that's the 2000 and something, right? I think this article was published in 2014, right? So this is about 2013, right? Okay, so now it's worth about 2 billion. Now how to get to 2 billion? So based on the price of 160, because I'm basing on that information. Now 5 billion divided by 115. So this is how many shares Warren Buffett can purchase or could purchase if he decided to exercise the warrant. All right, and each had a $45 intrinsic value. So instead of issuing that many number of shares, they use cash settlement. That is, Goldman Sachs just paid $45 per warrant to buy back the warrant. All right. So if you do the calculation, that was about $2 billion. So that's, if you look at it, in this transaction, invest $5 billion, and now you have $8.5 billion back in about 3 or something years. All right? So this is the return of about 70%, just a few years. Okay? So whether Warren Buffett is very smart? No, actually not. I can do the same thing. But Goldman Sachs did not come to me. Too bad. I have 5 billion. Yeah. But actually, Goldman Sachs did not need the money. They just need someone. They just need market confidence. So when Warren Buffett invests or lend money to Goldman Sachs, it sends a signal to the market. The greatest investor, or maybe not in human history, but one of the greatest investor, he had confidence in Goldman Sachs. All right, and therefore the Goldman Sachs stock price rebound. Right, so they basically need his reputation as a smart, wise investor, rather than the $5 billion. To be honest, so even if you have $5 billion, they don't want it. They want money from Warren Buffett. All right, okay. So this is a warrant plus a preferred. So that's a convertible preferred share. All right. Yes. Now second transaction, GE. So in this transaction, now GE this time it was in October 2008. So this time October 2008. Again during the financial crisis. So now this deal is $3 billion, right? Yeah, $3 billion. Okay. Now the strike price is $22.25. Okay, $22.25. And yeah, $3 billion for again preferred stock with warrants, and strike price 25 cents, and preferred dividend same as Goldman Sachs 10%, right? Same as Goldman Sachs 10%. Okay, and now the same thing, yeah, blah blah blah. So again in 2011, all right, 2011. So this I think is end of 2011. So this is just about end of 2011. All right, so this is about 3 years later. Now this time the same thing here, recover, and now GE repaid the $3 billion, right? Plus again a 10% premium because they have to buy back the share. Oh, yeah. Please sign attendance. All right, now the strike price is $22.25, and the same thing. This time they end up taking $260 million shares last year. So this time they did not exercise the warrants. Instead, they pay the warrants value in shares to Warren Buffett. All right. So the calculation is something like that. That is the price at that time. It was $24.18. Or 18 cents. All right, at that time, $24.18. So the $3 billion. So $3 billion divided by 22.15. That is how many shares Warren Buffett could purchase from GE. Instead of buying all those shares, they pay the value. The difference now is $1.93. Difference between the two. That is, this is a cash settlement. All right, instead of paying cash, they pay share. Well, this gives you approximately 200 or 0.626 billion. So in this deal, the same thing, $3 billion start with. Now they receive $3 billion plus 0.3 billion of core premium, right? And also each year the interest of 0.3 billion, and now another 0.26 billion. So this is the total money earned in this case. So if you look at it, this is about 3 year, 49% return. Right? 3 years, 49% return. Smart move, right? Okay. Now next, PA. Okay, Bank of America. So PA this time is late 2011. All right. And one more time, Warren Buffett, he gave $5 billion to PA and preferred share and warrant. All right. And the preferred paid 6% this time because now after the financial crisis, market conditions improved. So therefore, the yield was lower at that time, not 10%, but 6%. All right. The exercise price, this is $7.14. So now they can get a value in this case. Now in PA case, okay, so this is late 2011, and the strike price is $7.14. Now this time actually, Warren Buffett this time, now in this article, because this was published earlier, 2014, I think. But in 2017, actually Warren Buffett exercised the warrant. Right? In this transaction, it actually exercised the warrant. So the amount is $5 billion, and this is 7.14. Okay, and now is 28.6. So this is about $20 billion value. Right? So that means they invest $5 billion, So in this deal, 5 billion. Now end up with, well, $0.3 billion interest because of the 6%, right? 6% coupon, that's only 0.3 billion, right? And you have it for 6 years, right? You have it for 6 years because it's 2017, and then the $20 billion of stock. So now you do not receive the principal of 5 billion back, but instead you have $20 billion of stock instead of the $5 million face value of the equity. So the total in this case is about 21.8 billion. All right, so you get about 300 and something, 336% return, but over about 6 years. All right. Okay. Now the next one, I will not look at USG because it's nothing. Now the next one I want you to look at is Harris Davidson. All right, so it's a motorcycle company. All right, everybody know. All right. Now this time, it is not convertible. It is not convertible. So the reason why I want to look at this one is I want you to compare a convertible and a non-convertible. Now this one is around 2009 February, a little bit later than Goldman Sachs and GE, right? A few months later. So the market condition may improve a little bit, right? But still not that good. But this time, it is a small amount, 300 million. Now, but this time, it is just a straight note. It's an unsecured but senior straight note, right? That means there's no conversion. Now, interest rate 15%. Interest rate 15% right now. So market condition about the same. Convertible, Goldman Sachs received 10%, but Harley-Davidson 15 because it's non-convertible. So this example shows that, well, if the two, let's say, same company, one is convertible, the other one is non-convertible, then you expect convertible bond will pay a lower coupon, which is 10, compared to 15 non-convertible. All right? Okay. So come back to here. So let's look at this very simple example, how to determine the price of a straight bond value, the conversion value, and option value of the bond. All right, so here assume, make it simple, it's a zero coupon convertible bond due in 10 years, and the conversion ratio is 25 shares. So that means $1,000 you can convert into 25 shares. So that means the conversion price right now is $40. Right? Or you can say the exercise price is $40. Right? Conversion ratio is 25. And let's assume that this bond will have a discount rate or yield, excuse me, of 10%, and the stock price right now is $12. All right? And assume that the convertible bond is trading at 400. Now, as I said, since most convertible they are also callable, and it will be extremely complicated. So you need to know the interest rate, you need to know the expected dividend of this company. You also need to know the market condition, the expected stock price of this company. Because market condition also affect the stock price of the company. Right? If the market is good, every prices will be up. If market condition is bad, of course, all prices will be down. All right? And also depends on the company's profitability and so on. Okay, so therefore, here it is extremely difficult to find the value of a convertible and callable bond. All right. So now what I want is just determine what the straight bond value, what is the conversion value right now, and what is option value of this bond. Okay. So we know convertible bond, CB stands for convertible bond, is always equal to the maximum value of a straight bond value and a conversion value, right? Because if the conversion value is higher, you will convert. If the conversion value is lower, you hold on the bond, then you get the straight bond value. So that's similar to our warrant or option, but this is just zero, and this is just the intrinsic value. All right, but now everything just moved up. Okay, and this is the conversion option value, or the speculative value time value. So in this example, the strict bond value is very simple because it's a zero coupon bond. So you get 0 interest until 10 years you receive the premium or the face value back. So the price of this 0 coupon bond will be $385 today. So this is the strict bond value today, right? And the conversion value today is, since each bond you can convert into 25 shares, and the market price right now is $12 per share, so the conversion value will be $300. All right? So we know the basic value must be the maximum of 2, which is 385.54. So that means this option value must be $14.46. Right? Because we know this maximum of the 2 plus the option value must equal to the observed trading price, which is 400 given in this case. All right? Now, the next thing is convertible bond versus straight bond. Now, in bankruptcy cost chapter, we talk about the selfish strategy by management or shareholder. When a company is in trouble, remember they will take high risk project. All right. Now, if it's a straight bond, then bondholder will suffer. But if it is a convertible bond, now this time bondholder, they don't need to worry about that much, because if you take high risk project and you win, right? That means you win big. I can convert. I will share the benefit. All right. So in that case, I will require a lower coupon rate. Actually, I can prove it using a simple example, but I don't want to go through that calculation. But I can just tell you, right? If I'm a bondholder, if a strict bond, I will require very high coupon rate. Why? Because I'm not sure about whether you will take high risk project. All right. If you take high risk project, my chance of getting my money back will be very slim. Okay, so when I calculate expected value, I will incorporate that information. So I will require a very high yield. That means I will pay a low price to buy the face value of the bond. All right. But if it is a convertible bond, all right, and then I don't care, because if you take high risk, you're successful, then I will convert and I can share the gain from this high risk gamble. All right. If you lose and I still have priority over the shareholder to get my money back. All right. So in that case, I will accept a lower coupon rate. All right. All right. So that's the reason why I said earlier. Well, for Goldman Sachs, GE 10%, but for Harley-Davidson 15%. All right. Because now even if you take high risk, I will still accept. I will still gain from that transaction. Okay, so convertible bond carry a low coupon rate, right? Then otherwise I then go to straight bond. Okay, so if the bond if the company they actually does poorly, then this call option will be expired out, or the conversion option will expire out of the money. Okay, but if the stock price does well, then the firm, well, they actually compare. Now this little table and this discussion is summarized in this little table here. All right, so let me just write out the table right here. So right now, this is the price of the stock, whether it's down. All right, so let me see which presentation. Good. Okay, yeah. Price it down first. On this side is the share price is up. So if the share price down, that means the conversion option will be out of the money, and when the share price is up, the conversion value will be in the money. Right? Okay. Now we want to make two comparisons. One is convertible bond versus equity. The other one is convertible bond versus a straight bond. Right? And which one you should choose. So this is basically the same table here. Now, we argue that if you expect, now depends on your expectation. So that means if you are the company, you are considering convertible bond or convertible preferred share versus stock. It depends on what your outlook, your expectation. Now, if you expect share price to be lower in the future, then you should choose equity. You should issue equity now, not convertible bond, not convertible preferred share. All right? Now, if you expect the price to be higher, then you should issue convertible bond. Now, the reason why this is the case, right? Remember, most of the convertible, they start with out of the money. That means, let's say, assume right now, the price of stock, let's say, is $10 right now. Okay? And so if the price is down, so let's say PS is equal to $5 or PS equal to $15 higher. Okay? So now you're choosing this two today. So if you choose to issue equity, let's assume you want to raise $100. Alright? So if you issue equity, you only issue 10 shares. Right? 100 divided by 10 shares. Now, but if you issue convertible, right, and the share price drop, so that means all those bondholders, they will not convert. They will require the money back. So you have to give them back the money, $100. Now, at that time, if you issue equity to give them the $100 back, you have to issue 20 shares. That means you have more dilution, right? So if you expect share price lower in the future, why don't we sell share now? Why you sell the share later at only 5? So that's why if you expect the share price lower, then you should issue equity. Right? Now, on the other hand, if you expect the share price to be higher, all right, so you should issue convertible. So normally, so let's say assume the convertible stock price is, let's say, make it $12, because usually the conversion price is higher than the current stock price. All right. So if the share price is $15 in the future, all right, so they will exercise. So when they exercise, for $100, they can only get about 8 shares. So the dilution effect will be less, because if you issue share now, you have to issue 10 shares. But if the share price is higher in the future, and they will exercise, so you don't need to pay back $100, right? But you have to issue 8-point-something share to the bondholder. So the dilution effect will be less in this case. All right? Now, the second consideration is now, we want to compare. Let's say now if you consider whether you should issue convertible bond or straight bond this time. All right? So the argument is, if you believe the stock price will be lower, you should issue convertible bond. If you expect the bond price to be higher, you should issue bond. All right? So why this is the case? Well, if the share price will be lower, that means this conversion option will be expired out of the money. So that means, yeah, you don't need to. They will not exercise. So what you need is just pay back the face value. But don't forget, you save some coupon, because convertible bond, they have a lower coupon rate compared to a straight bond. Right? Assume they issue at the same price, because let's say you borrow $100. In both cases, either you borrow $100 convertible bond, or you borrow $100 straight bond. Right? So in this case, well, I can save some interest if you issue convertible, because you know the price will be lower, right? They will not exercise. Now, if you believe your price will be higher, they will exercise, then you should issue straight bond, because the dilution effect. All right? So what you need is, oh, I just pay you $100. I don't want to give you share, because if they convert, that means the bondholder, they will get gain. They will gain from this transaction. All right? So based on this prediction, MicroStrategy actually should not be a good investment. Right? Why? Because when you compare earlier, they actually issue convertible bond. They issue convertible bond, convertible preferred share. So they're even insider, according to this theory, but I don't think he really knows finance. Trust me, right? Michael Saylor, I think it's his name, right? I don't know. Trust me, there's a lot of outspoken person out there, right? Talk about this and that and that. Trust me, they don't know finance. Even, I say that, even Donald Trump, you know nothing about crypto. There's some people around him say, oh, this is good. Okay, make money good. Oh, this is good, make money good. Right? Trust me, they don't know finance. Okay? And they don't know about that. Okay? If you look at it, this actually what they did is, oh, they issued this. But now, they are issuing just preferred share because it's too expensive right now for convertible. Even convertible, their coupon rate is not cheap. Their preferred rate is not cheap. Right? The model can make money now, but it's not sustainable in long term. No way. Right? That would be against all the finance economic theory. So as I said, this is a good experiment. You can see how long this hype can last. We never know. Okay? All right, so why bonds and convertibles they are issue? So that's one thing I mentioned earlier. That's reduce agency cost of debt, right? And also convertible bond also allow young company to delay expensive interest costs until they can afford them. So a lot of company, if they borrow their startup, so the bondholder will require 20% yield, right? 20% coupon. No way they can pay such a high coupon because at the early stage they need a lot of money on their let's say R&D, research and development, right? So therefore they have to spend those money there. Okay, so they cannot afford those interest rates, so therefore they issue convertible, right? Because they're a risky project. So the characteristic of firm that issue convertible bond, the bond rating normally is lower, right? But people they expect a high growth. People expect high growth. Okay? And convertible they are usually subordinated and unsecured. Alright? Now the conversion policy, and as I said, most convertible bonds they are callable. Now when a bond is called, bondholder they have 30 days to choose between either you convert or you return or surrender the bond to at the company. Okay? And company, you should always wait until the price is not really significant, but you are quite certain in the 30 days, in the next 30 days, the price will not drop below the call price. Right? To make sure that you don't overpay. Where's the attendance? Right? Thank you. All right. Now, in the last 15 minutes, you want me to talk about exam, right? But I will not. Okay, I will not. The information is up there. Now, don't ask me any sample final exam question. I told you the assignment question are the sample final exam question because they are the exam question in the past. All right. So the review question is I want you to review everything. All right. So, all right. Okay. All right. So I will not talk about exam. Now the last thing I want to talk about is M&A. I just want to have a quick overview of M&A because as a student, especially finance student, you should know about M&A. Now M&A, there are two main types of merger acquisition transactions. One is valuation. That is, usually it's private equity. This company value is too high, too low. All right. So that means the management they did not manage the company properly. So the true value, if I own the company, I believe the value should be $20. But now it's trading at only 10. Right? So I will buy this company. I may use leverage buyout or just a private equity buy out the company, right? PE firm. And then I pay, let's say I pay $13 per share, $14 per share, and I can make about $6 profit if my valuation is right. Now the second type of M&A is strategic reason. That is, I am actually in the business. I'm in the industry. So now I want to acquire your company to create synergy. So in that case, it's 1 + 1 = 3. Right? That's the argument. That is, the value of A or A and T, so A stands for acquired, T stands for target, is greater than the value of A plus the value of T alone. All right. So synergy either will come from enhanced revenue. That means my increase in revenue. So example is I can cross-sell my product. All right. That means now I own this company. I own another similar product. So I have another customer base. So I can promote my product to these potential customers, or I can bundle the two and offer a discount to this potential customer. So that's to increase your revenue. And other synergy come from cost saving, right? That is, maybe we do have some idle capacity. Why don't we combine and we can eliminate one of our production line, all right? Or we can eliminate some of the overlap function. Let's say accounting department, we only need one need to have two, all right? So, or marketing department, human resources department. So usually after M&A, you observe a large layoff, right? Because you try to get rid of those redundant employees, all right? So that's from cost saving perspective. Now, a bad reason for M&A is diversification. So sometimes company argue, okay, I acquired a company is I want to diversify it, move into a different business. Yes, this is good only from employees' perspective, but not shareholder. Because if you're a shareholder, if you want to diversify, you can do it yourself. Just buy different stock. You don't need to pay a premium. What you pay is just the market price of the share. But if the company, they diversify for you, they have to pay 30% premium to acquire the target. Because when we look at the average premium company pay for the target is around 30%, right? So that makes no sense. And to acquire another company just for diversification. So this is a bad argument, all right? Okay. So if you say, okay, we want to reduce the risk. Maybe, yeah, you want to reduce the risk because your employees, the company have trouble and you lose your job. So you can just diversify to keep the company afloat, all right? But shareholder, I don't need you to do it for me. I can do it myself, all right? Okay, so this is another, invalid argument. Now, another thing you may save, sometimes you may save create synergy is if you can lower the cost of capital. Maybe, right? It's not necessarily always true, but one possibility is if you can lower the cost of capital, you can always increase synergy as well. That means you have it. All right? Okay? And now, because we don't have time to look at it, now, another part of M&A is what we call divestitures. Divestiture is what? Divestiture is 4 minus 2 equal to 3. This time is, I break up the company, actually I have more value than when they are together. Right? So M&A is not just merger acquisition. Merger acquisition is just one part of M&A. M&A includes restructuring, which is divestiture. That is, I sell the company, I have a spin-off, or I have a carve-out. So a spin-off basically is like this. That is, you make one division, you're the shareholder here. So you make a division as a separate legal entity. Now shareholder own both. That is, if you own 10% of the parent, you also own 10% of this subsidiary. It is not really a subsidiary because it's an independent company. Right? We call it a spin-off. So this is quite common in the business world, especially large corporation. Now, why this can create value? Why this can create value? There's several arguments. Now, Ronald Coase, his argument is transaction cost. Now, his theory is the optimal size of firm. What's the optimal size of firm? So the firm getting bigger and bigger and bigger, or first be getting smaller and smaller. Now, it's all about transaction cost. Internal transaction cost, external transaction cost. Now, let's say if we have a business here, everyone here as work as individual, all right? Now there will be no internal transaction costs because you all work on your own, right? But there will be external transaction costs, especially me. Let's say I have to grade, let's say 40 projects, all right? Because that will be extremely costly to me, right? To reduce this cost, let's say we have a group project, all right? So why we want 5 or 6 members? Because it's optimal. Why not we have a group of 40? Now we have a group of 40, external transaction cost will be 0 because it will be very small because I just need to rate one report. But internal transaction cost will be extremely high. 40 of them, you're fighting with each other, right? I believe maybe 20 of them are free rider, at least 20%, let's say 20 students. They really want to have a good grade. So they keep arguing, keep fighting. Another thing is, it's almost impossible to arrange a meeting so that 40 of you will be all available. So those are internal transaction costs. That means when a company is getting big and big too big, now there will be a lot of conflicts in that department. Marketing department, production department, they have always a different objective. All right? Now another argument is when a company, you have multiple segments, it will be extremely difficult for analysts to value the company. Because in the market, analysts, they have their own expertise. So that means I study, let's say, automobile company in the past 20 years. I know how to value a company, automobile company. And you study on energy sector in the past 20 years. So you know how to value an energy company. But now if the two companies merge, one is automobile, maybe it's pharmaceutical and energy. Now, so for the analyst, it's difficult for me to understand different valuation in different industries. So when you're in doubt, you will give a more conservative estimation, valuation. All right? So sometimes we call it corporate focus. When you have this divestiture or carve out. So carve out means, yeah, the shareholders own this company, they also own this, but let's say only own 70%. And there's some new shareholder, they own the other 30%. So we call this carve out. Right? Carve out and spin off similar. But empirical evidence suggests that after spin-off or carve-out, well, their performance and the share price actually increased. Now, this is what we call corporate focus. All right? So, because if the argument is no one can understand or manage, let's say, 5 different industries in the same company, all right? Unless you're God. Otherwise, normal people, you cannot manage so many companies. All right? Okay? So Elon Musk now, the Doge, right, and X, and so on, they combine. Well, that's another trick he did, is they tried to make X become AI valuation, right? Because the social media, so people give us this valuation, but now when you merge with AI now, people say, oh, this is AI company valuation, the multiple increase, value increase. That's another trick trying to fool investors, right? Okay, right? Of course, they argue them as some reason to increase the value. That is, oh, we can use the X, this to train AI. You don't need to acquire the company because you own the same manager anyway. Yeah, you did that in the past. Why you need to merge it to do this again? I don't know. There's no reason. The only reason is just fool the investor, trying to increase valuation. All right? Okay? So now, back to here. Just give me another 2 minutes here. And so in this case, when you break up the two, actually also increase management incentive, right? If you as part of a company, your bonus, your option all depends on the whole thing, just like a group project. Your grade depends on others member performance. If you have a lousy group members, even I remember one of my project many years ago in my master's study, and we have prepared everything. But remember at that time, we have to use typewriter, right? Not everything online. Now you can just copy and paste easily, right? But we have the typewriter. I still remember the night before we submit the assignment, we prepare everything in written. That member just say, oh, he did the typing, all right? But at about 11 something to 12, almost midnight, and we went to his apartment. He was drunk. He was drunk, all right? So that means We found out, oh, he did nothing. So I and the other member will have to type everything, well, before 9, I think the submission deadline is 9 that morning, all right? So in this example, let's say you are the managers of this division. Now, your performance, your bonus, everything depends on other divisions' manager. If they're doing good, you will have a high return. But now, if you split into a separate company, now you have your own financial statement. You have your own board of directors. So people value your performance according to your achievement, according to your effort. So now it gives the management more incentive to do better. All right? So this is the argument why manager also create value. Now, final thing in M&A is bankruptcy. All right? So why bankruptcy is part of M&A? Because when a company is in trouble, you may sell some of the asset, and you may file Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Now, Chapter 11 actually is not liquidation. So don't mix up the term. Because Chapter 11 is the Bankruptcy Act of the US, which is the Chapter 11 is about reorganization. Liquidation is Chapter 7. So if you file Chapter 7 liquidation, you wind up the operation, return the money. Most companies, they file Chapter 11 protection. That is, they just reorganize. So what they did is negotiate with the creditors, all right? Okay, so for example, okay, I owe you $100, maybe I give you share instead. So I don't need to pay you interest anymore in the future, all right? And we also have what we call DIP financing. That is, when I file Chapter 11 bankruptcy, a lot of bankers will line outside my office trying to lend money to me because they have priority over existing creditors. So in case anything happens, they will get their money back. So we call it DIP, debtor in possession financing. All right. So the company will have a reorganization, try to restructure the company, selling some of the assets. Maybe they also change your claim into equity, or they cut your face value. Let's say I owe you $100, so now we'll say, okay, I just give you 80. All right, let's have a deal. Otherwise, I liquidate, you get only 50. So why not give me another chance so that I can give you $80 in value? So we call this reorganization. All right, so this is part of the M&A. Okay, that's the Chapter 11 reorganization. In Canada, we have similar thing, but they are under different names. That's it. All right. So M&A would not be in the exam, but as a finance student or even as a non-finance student, I want you to know about M&A. M&A will never die. Good market condition, bad market conditions is always there. Okay, right? So see your exam on April the 12th.